Now the Symbolic Act is very simple. Our children will readily grasp it. It consists of three parts. First of all, the taking of two sticks. Picking them up, let's say, from the ground. Nothing complicated here. Ezekiel, grab a couple of sticks. Second, after the taking of the sticks comes the writing on the two sticks. Maybe Ezekiel used some sort of a knife here. Whatever. On stick 1, Ezekiel writes, quote, "For Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions." So says verse 16. This refers to the southern kingdom of Judah. This kingdom includes, as well as the tribe of Judah, the tribes of Benjamin and Simeon, which was sort of subsumed in the tribe of Judah, and most of Levi, because the Levites were particularly centered in Jerusalem, which was in the middle of the southern kingdom, and many of the Levites from the northern kingdom left and joined the southern kingdom. That's stick 1, Judah, the southern kingdom written down. On stick 2, write this, Ezekiel: "For Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions." So now we've moved from the southern kingdom to the northern kingdom. Ephraim is mentioned because Ephraim is the dominant central tribe. Joseph is mentioned because Joseph had two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. And Ephraim plus Manasseh occupied a very large proportion of the northern kingdom. Or it isn't just those two, Ephraim and Manasseh. It goes on to say all the house of Israel, his companions. So we throw in the other tribes: Reuben, Gad, Dan, Asher, Naphtali, Issachar, and Zebulun. So we have the taking of the two sticks, the writing on the two sticks, northern kingdom and southern kingdom. And then third, the main part, we have the joining of the two sticks. Grab stick 1 in one hand, Ezekiel. Grab stick 2 in your other hand. And then bring the two sticks together so that they touch end to end. And I will make them into one stick. Very simple. Now what are we to make of all this? Well, I should say, first of all, that this is not a children's game playing about with sticks. It's not a magic trick with Paul Daniels or those guys with a little bit of sleight of hand or crafty ploys and the two sticks become one stick. It's a symbolic act, like several others in Ezekiel. In fact, out of the 16 writing prophets, the 4 major prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel and Daniel, and the 12 minor ones whose books are shorter, out of those 16 writing prophets, Ezekiel is distinctive because he performed the most recorded symbolic acts, as well as often being the most vivid, with imagery which some might even call bizarre or strange. Ezekiel is the symbolic acts prophet. In chapter 4, Ezekiel is told to make a sort of model of Jerusalem and face it and portray thereby the siege of Jerusalem by the Babylonians. Then Ezekiel is told to lie down on his left hand side 390 days. That's a picture of Israel's sin, the northern kingdom. And then after 390 days on his left side, he's allowed to turn around on his right side, and he's to lie there for 40 days for Judah's sins. A lot of symbolic actions here. On another occasion, Ezekiel 5, he was told to shave off all the hair on the top of his head and his beard, and do various things with each third of the accumulated hairs. And there were other things, symbolic acts, typical for Ezekiel. And Ezekiel performs each of these acts not simply to entertain or amuse the people, although it did entertain the people and they got quite a kick out of his actions, though they never listened to a word he said and went on in their sins. He did all these things at God's express command, and he explained the meaning of them to the Jews who were with him by the river Kibar and its environs in the land of Babylonia. Now, was this symbolic act in the middle of Ezekiel 37 a vision? So that it was mental in Ezekiel's head? Or did Ezekiel literally take two wooden sticks off the ground and physically join them by God's wisdom? Is the question which the commentators and preachers on this passage typically address, and nothing really depends upon the answer to this question, but it ought to be explained a little for us to grasp the issues. Some people say that since the preceding 14 verses, the valley of dry bones, is definitely a vision, this should be a vision too. And they're right. The valley of the dry bones is a vision because verse 1 says, God's hand was upon me, God's hand carried me out in the Spirit of the Lord and set me out in a vision in the midst of a valley of dry bones. But I don't believe this passage, 15 to 20, is a vision, because the explanation of it in verses 18 to 20 contains ideas that it actually happened, that there was a physical stick made out of two physical sticks. Verse 18 has the people asking Ezekiel, aren't you going to show us what you mean by these things, Ezekiel? That fits better with it being a literal stick that was formed out of two sticks. But more conclusively, verse 20 says, the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. Before their eyes. They will see this stick in your hand. Which I take it to mean that Ezekiel did this physically in front of the people, and they saw the two sticks and they saw the two becoming one. Now, what about the scriptural meaning of the joining of these two sticks together? Well, as I've indicated, this symbolic act of joining these two sticks, verses 15 through 17, is immediately explained in verses 18 and 19. It comes in the form of a question and answer. The Jews in captivity ask Ezekiel, verse 18, are you not going to show us what you mean by this? Putting these sticks together, some sort of conjurer or magician, what's going on here? And then at God's behest, Ezekiel responds, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. That is, it's all about the unity of the northern and southern kingdoms. When is this unity going to take place? Well, here we recall, at least those of us who were here last week and were not out of the country, we recall the text and sermon 7 days ago. Verse 11 says that the valley of dry bones applies to the whole house of Israel. The people of not only the southern kingdom, but also the northern kingdom. And then that the whole house of Israel, verse 11, will be brought into the land of Israel. Verses 12 and 14. And this happened in the return from the Babylonian captivity under Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah.